Hey guys, welcome to the Aftermath podcast. This is episode 27, and I'm joined by Paolo and Osama. And today we'll be focusing on the Batman film that we just watched recently. Okay, that's gonna do. So, what do you guys think about the Batman film?
Right off the bat, I gotta just say, I enjoyed it. The hype definitely was just there. Like it met my expectations at least. We'll go into it a little bit more, but I did appreciate like all the color grading, and yeah, just right off the bat, I got like, do you want my like scale from 1 to 10 or like
A scale from 1 to 10? Yeah, go for it.
I would just have to give it like a 9, maybe 9 plus.
9 plus.
And maybe because I'm like the biggest fanboy.
For
I just
Batman.
like, correct, yeah. I don't want to be that guy that just gives it a 10, but for me at least it's worthy of a 10. But I'm not that much of a critique when it comes to films and movies, so I just want to set that as the context.
Yeah.
But what about you? What about you, Osama?
I didn't have much much hype until I saw the first trailer, and then I didn't watch any trailers after that because I got excited.
Yeah.
And with that level of excitement going in, I loved it. I thought it was very good, and I'm a sucker for style, and this is a very stylish movie.
It's a very stylish movie.
But I give it an 8. Most of that's to do with the length and some of the themes addressed or not addressed.
Yeah.
But I still loved it, and 8 is a great score for me.
8 is an A plus.
Yeah.
In class.
In class.
And in movie school. No, I'm kidding. I felt like that film, if you take it from a point of view as a Batman, as a person who grew up on the Batman comics, I think for me that film's a 10. It's a very high rating, I know, but I used to read a lot of Batman comics as a kid, and it felt like those comic book pages came to life in this film. From the set design to the city itself, to the character development, and also like a character study of the Batman and Bruce Wayne. How there was a certain disconnect between both those characters. You couldn't really see a disconnect because he was in his second year of being a vigilante and still dealing with the loss of his parents, the Batman. And you could see in the film, this is a spoiler review by the way, in the film Riddler says, and I used to say this in the previous Batman post as well, in Aftermath podcast, that the Batman is not a mask, it's actually his true personality. That's when his monster really comes out. Or his idea of justice in Gotham City. And I liked how Gotham felt like, man. It felt like a real city. And he got a lot of pointers from Fincher's film 7. Because in the film 7, you could really feel like the dirt and grime in the city. And that Gotham is like... And in 7 as well, that city is in a sense sort of lost.
Yeah.
And there is like a certain level of... There's a certain lack of hope that's coming from at least Morgan Freeman's character. And here you can see that mirrored in Batman's character. He doesn't even know if the city can be saved, you could say. And there's like this whole idea of vengeance that comes in the film. Throughout like the whole film. It's layered throughout. Not only Batman's vengeance and Riddler's vengeance, there's also Catwoman's vengeance as well in her personal backstory as well. Before I go deep, yeah. So that's why I gave it a 10. But let's do a deep dive into like what you guys really liked about the film. You know what I'm saying?
Just to add on to what you said, like it really did feel like it was a proper like dystopian world.
Yes, that's it.
Yeah, and I feel like they captured that really well. Not to say that the other films did not. I feel like this film especially did pay a lot of attention to like Batman's detective work, especially.
Yes.
Because I think the Riddler is like the perfect kind of antagonist at that point to kind of just show how good he is, and
his intelligence.
Because when he was like dropping all the riddles, in my head I was like, all right, I'm gonna try to think of this real quick just so I can see if I can beat Batman. But Batman was just so nonchalantly like, I know it.
Justice.
So good.
And he based just a reminder how Matt Reeves framed this character of Batman. He based it a lot on Nirvana. And that's why the songs in Nirvana, especially Kurt Cobain's voice, is portrayed throughout the film. Because even the grunge level aesthetic that he has, and he looks like a real like kind of rock star kind of vibe if you think about it,
With
like with the
boots
makeup
and
and the emo-ness and
Yeah.
stuff. And I really love that because for me, I grew up on the film. I had this in the previous post as well. Do you know The Crow? It was Bruce Lee's son's last film before he died in that film tragically. It felt really like that film, like the darkness and also like the makeup and like his whole backstory and like the stylistically as well. It's very gothic, you know. I love that shit, man. I love gothic films and stuff. What do you, Sama?
I agree that this is a Gotham that's oozing with character. One word that I would use to describe it is immersive.
Yes.
Whereas in the Dark Knight movies, which I love as
Really
well,
love, yeah.
it felt more like, well, this could be New York posing as Gotham in a
Yeah.
way. Whereas this one felt
Yeah.
like, no, this is a city that doesn't exist in our world.
Yeah.
But if it could, this is what it would look like.
It would feel like, yeah.
Yeah, and just going onto adding on to why Robert Pattinson did a great job. Something different that he did, which John and Paolo have mentioned, is that he's not exactly the billionaire playboy in this one. He is that rock star,
Yeah.
sort of
He's
rebel
emo
rock
style like Kurt
Yeah,
Cobain. Kurt Cobain as a person within our reality, I guess, compared to the Batman reality Matt Reeves has created. He was like a recluse, but a very famous recluse, because every time he would come out, it would be like an event, you know, and everything that he would produce to entertain, it would be like incredible. Because let's just not forget, Nirvana was like one of the biggest bands during the 90s, and there's like a lot of themes they borrow from the 90s as well. But I'll just let Usama finish his statement. Let's go.
Yeah, so no, you put it perfectly. The recluse, rock star recluse personality. The one scene that's an example of this is the funeral of the mayor.
Yeah.
Bruce Wayne gets out of his car.
Yeah.
And instead of putting on that, confident, it is a funeral, but instead of putting on that
like
typical, the charming, confident, waving to the crowd.
Yeah.
And then just walking in, paying his respects. He just stands there, just looking at the ground, while the cameras are all on him.
Yeah.
And that's a Bruce Wayne we haven't seen before, and it really captures. Okay, this is a Batman that's still growing,
still in coming up.
Yeah,
because I think Commissioner Gordon as well he wasn't even the commissioner yet, right?
Yeah, he's still a policeman.
I gotta say something about Commissioner Gordon real quick. He has got to be one of the most likable characters in the movie. You could see the relationship between him and Batman. The trust factor, it was just like whatever says goes.
Yeah.
It was just refreshing to see. And then again, this is a spoiler review, to see like the police department and DEA is like half of them being corrupted.
Yeah.
And just because we're used to seeing Batman kind of defeat like an antagonist at the end, but he was literally fighting a whole system at this point, on top of the Riddler as well. So there was a lot of things going on in the film.
You could see like how inexperienced this Batman is, because in the film, right, during one of the scenes where he enters the nightclub, the first time he enters through the front door, but the second time he enters stealthily, like he goes in as an actual person, and then he goes into the toilets, etc., and then disables everything, and then he does his fights. And you could see like he's like a young and angry kind of person, and this is a way for him to vent that anger. And also I really liked, like you said, Commissioner Gordon and Batman's relationship. They're both partners, but they both know that they're responsible for this in some sort of way, especially Batman, especially in the funeral scene you're talking about. Right. Like, if that was Bruce Wayne in reality, he wouldn't feel really happy about being in a funeral. And indirectly, he has caused the death of this mayor, because most of those letters were addressed to Batman.
Right.
And he knows that Riddler came up and is this famous in Gotham City, mainly because we find out throughout later in the end of the movie that Batman actually inspired the Riddler. And it's pretty, I don't know, it's really cool to see like the parallels between both characters. They were both orphans, they're both like highly intelligent people, and they both just took different paths to, I guess, towards vengeance. Yeah, the fear aspect.
I honestly just love seeing the psychological warfare.
Yes, psychological. Yeah, it was a psychological thrill. Yeah,
especially when he was in Arkham at the end.
Yeah,
and they had the face-to-face conversation, and then the Riddler. Well, when Batman was just like, "No, you're pathetic," and Riddler, you could just see him like completely just like panic because everything about him is pretty much calculated and premeditated, and everything goes as planned. But you could tell like there was something wrong with this guy as soon as like he started panicking. And
we don't see, the thing is that for me, I can empathize with what the Riddler is doing.
Yeah.
Because essentially we are introduced to a world that is in bed with a lot of corruption from like, it feels like an actual like sewer of a city, I would say, like a garbage kind of city. And everyone who's supposed to be upholding justice is actually involved in criminal activities. And no one is like either in a positive light, because that's what the Riddler uncovers, right? He sees the corruption within Gotham City. And you could see like Batman kind of sort of agree with him as well, because he's in that young state. He agrees with him, like what he's doing, and he finds out more about himself as well. His family background, like Thomas Wayne.
Confrontation with Alfred.
Yeah, confrontation with Alfred and Thomas Wayne, like what his legacy actually means. And you could see like when you hear that thing from Maloney, that it just changed his whole perspective about, because the Batman, essentially this character that Bruce has created, or his true personification, is all based on the ideal that his father built, the Wayne legacy, to help Gotham City. And if that's broken down, then what is Batman?
Yeah, because that was the foundation of his whole
secret identity. I mean, foundation of his whole identity as the Batman.
Yeah.
So.
Well, yeah, I agree with you guys on those points, but I think we should probably, we've talked about the Riddler and a bit of him, and of course Bruce Wayne, and then the character of Gotham.
Yep.
Zoe Kravitz's Selena Kyle was a pretty big part of this movie.
Yes, 100%.
Yeah, I didn't think much of her when she was cast.
Yeah.
And now, after seeing the movie, I'm quite indulged in her performance, and can't wait to see more of her. What did you guys think of
You can go
Zoe
first.
Kravitz?
You can go first.
Well,
she's hot.
I want to say some nice stuff, but I'm just hoping my girlfriend doesn't listen to this. No, she did like a really good job. Like she actually had an important role. Like she wasn't just like a damsel in distress or anything. Yeah, she just did an amazing job. I started following her on Instagram. I got into that.
Me too.
She was in Fantastic Beasts, The Crimes of Grindelwald.
Okay.
And she was kind of forgettable in that movie.
Yeah, because the character in Fantastic Beasts, first of all, that series is, for me at least, utter trash. Like compared to. Yeah, I'm sorry. Because Harry Potter actually had a solid direction, and it's clear that J.K. Rowling can't write a script for she. Because the author actually wrote the script, and you could see, even though Newt... Oh shit, we're going to a different topic. Let's just focus on Zoe Kravitz. Sorry, yeah.
Yeah, her performance in that movie was... I don't really remember it. Her presence wasn't really felt. But after this one, she makes a big impact. Certainly by the end of the movie, she even manages to make an impact on Bruce Wayne himself, or Batman himself, which is Batman's a seemingly impenetrable, so has seemingly, his social facade can't really be broken. Generally speaking, there is the scene where Batman is in the GCPD and the officers are provoking him, and it's actually working. I think that's, another immature side of Batman that's still there. But romantic relationship-wise, this Batman doesn't seem like someone that would be affected by like romance. But towards the end of the movie, or in the last scene where he's looking back at Catwoman through his bike's mirror, we can see that she actually did make an impact.
It's a sacrifice that he has to make for a city.